It's time now to check in with our team at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where political, humanitarian, and business leaders are mingling in the snowy Swiss Alps. That's also where our business editor, Kate Moody, is standing by. Kate, give us the update.
Hi, Jeannie. Well, of course, the big event for the evening is going to be Emmanuel Macron. In addition to his keynote speech, the French president, we also understand, will be holding bilateral meetings with Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel and King Abdullah of Jordan. We'll be having, of course, full coverage of that throughout the evening. We're also getting a first glimpse of what Donald Trump might be bringing to Davos. He, of course, is expected here on Friday, and some members of his delegation have already arrived with their America First message. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin breaking slightly with the traditional stance by suggesting that a weak rather than a strong dollar is actually better for U.S. business, while the Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross has said that the U.S. is only just getting started when it comes to trade and that more punitive measures could be in the offing. So it's a rather ominous message for the proponents of globalization who are normally gathered here in Davos. Now, politics aside, there's also been a lot of focus on technology, and one of the most interesting and for some the most perplexing is the technology of blockchain. That's the technology, of course, on which currencies like Bitcoin are based. Now, to help us understand what it's all about, I'm joined by Sheila Warren, head of blockchain for the World Economic Forum. Sheila, thanks so much for being with us. The value of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin has soared in the past few months, year or so, but a lot of people still don't quite grasp the concept. How can this kind of digital currency actually be used?
So right now, it's important to understand that digital currency is not actually really being used in the way we think about cash. So you're not buying something like a car or a burger or French fries, as we call them, with that cash. What you're really doing is holding it more as a value store. So the way that people used to think about gold as an asset, they're thinking about digital currency in the same way for the most part.
Do you think that cryptocurrencies can become part of the mainstream economy? And if so, will they?
I think they absolutely can. I think we're already seeing a movement to mobile payment. Countries like China and WeCash, there are many parts of the world where it's ordinary to transact in imaginary, invisible currency, right? Like it's just going through your mobile device. And so it's not a big psychological step from that to imagine a world in which we're just exchanging digital currency. Will that happen? I think in some societies where they're less bound to a particular kind of currency, hyperinflationary, et cetera, we could well see that happen.
Now, blockchain is, of course, the technology that actually anchors Bitcoin in very much layman's terms. Can you explain what it is and what else might it be able to be used for?
Absolutely. Well, I think the most important thing to understand is that Bitcoin and blockchain are not the same thing. So blockchain is the foundational layer. And if you think about the way email is built upon the internet, Bitcoin's built upon blockchain. What it is, in a nutshell, is a distributed ledger that is very, very hard to hack and very, very hard to change. So it creates basically this permanent record of any kind of transaction that happens. And that's what I think people find so appealing about it.
And what else could it be used for apart from things like digital currencies, which still seem rather abstract for a lot of people?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of use cases by governments who are moving things like land registries or land titling to these systems. We're also seeing applications in the digital identity space and around supply chains. So when you think about the movement of goods from place to place, there are ways to do that tracking that are much more efficient if you've used this kind of permanent ledger.
Now, a lot of people have been rather resistant to the idea. We've heard a lot of opposition, notably from some very well-respected technology and business leaders. Is that resistance starting to change?
I think it depends on who you ask. We have this joke in the blockchain enthusiast world where if you want the answer, you just kind of keep asking a person until you get the answer you want and you'll find it. I think the thing to know is that, Bitcoin, for example, it could wind up being MySpace. It could wind up being Facebook. We just don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what happens.
There must be a security risk for people who try to dabble in this kind of new technology. What kind of risks are we talking about?
Yeah, I think it's by and large, the people who are still investing in these kinds of currencies are people that have pretty diversified portfolios and can kind of handle the kind of risk. Where I get concerned is people who are putting their life savings, into one kind of digital currency. That's very concerning, the way it would be if a similar situated person did overinvested in any one thing. So that's where I think the concern really lies in terms of your financial well-being.
What's the next big development that we should be looking out for when it comes to this kind of technology?
I think we're going to see a lot of supply chain changing, efficiencies in that are going to affect the labor market in very significant and profound ways.
Sheila Warren from the World Economic Forum, thanks so much for being with us. That's all for this edition. We'll have more on the latest politics, technology, and business developments here at Davos coming up throughout the afternoon.